Welcome to the next podcast by your authority on project, program, and portfolio management. I'm Wanda Curlee, and I'm glad to be bringing you the latest news on project, portfolio, and program management. So last week I ended the podcast on statistics, so I wanted to continue the statistics now. PMI has a fact file that they put out in their PM network, so I wanted to read some of those today. So PMI is the Project Management Institute is very happy to announce that it's now over 500,000 members. Actually, it has 514,726 members. They are located in 207 countries and territories. They have 291 chartered project chapters, and they expect 15 more to join that list of 291. So that'll put them over 300 charter chapters. That's amazing in my estimation. So let's go on with the certifications that they have. They have the Certified Associate in Project Management. There's 34,599 of those. PMP, which is the one that's known worldwide, and everybody kind of puts it as the de facto certification that you need to have. And that's 833,025. Can you imagine that? They're approaching the million mark. For PFMP, which is Portfolio Management Professional, there's 523. PMI never expects that one certification to go very high because it is for the, I don't want to say elite, but for the executive level project manager. Then there's the Program Management Professional, PGMP, and there's 2,198. I would expect PMI would start marketing this one a little bit more because there are more program managers around. Then there's the PMI RMP, which is the PMI Risk Management Professional. There's 4,513. I would have expected that one to be a little bit higher because risk management is so important in the area of project management. The PMI SP, which is the scheduling professional, there's 1,795. Again, I would expect that to be higher because everybody needs to know scheduling. Then there's the PMI PBA, which is the PMI Professional in Business Analysis. There's 2,076. Actually, I'm surprised this one is so high because there is actually a different professional organization for BAs. And then finally, they have the PMI ACP, which is the Agile Certified Practitioner. There's 19,634. Who would have thought that that would have taken off so fast, but it has. So while on that same topic, PMI has their PMBOK guide, and it amazes me how many are downloaded and are published. So PMI has put out this number that there's 5,845,709 total copies of all editions of the PMBOK. I can say that I actually have the first edition of the PMBOK guide, which was about 100 pages long, and the PMBOK guide now is over 600 pages long. It dumbfounds me how long it is now. I would hate to have to take the test anyhow. So let's switch over to the Project Management Journal. The Project Management Journal has done what they call teaching case studies. And they tout that the Project Manager Journal touts that these teaching case studies can help you if you're in the university level at either the bachelor's, master's, or even at the doctorate level to help teach the complex issues of project management, program management, and portfolio management. It also can help at the board of directors level, bringing out different topics that need to be discussed, but there really isn't a fluid way of doing it. So these teaching cases allow that. It also allows for speaking between government officials and the constituents. So having these in your hip pocket can help you in different situations, whether you're a university professor, a government official, or teaching even at the high school level. I've used case studies at the high school level. You would just have to bring it down to that level of student. So what are some of the teaching case studies that they have put out in the newest project management journal? There is using process theory for accumulating project management knowledge, dealing with uncertainty and ambiguity in a complex project, knowledge contribution as a factor in project selection. Many times companies struggle as to which projects to select. Sometimes they're grasping at straws and they forget about portfolio management and how that can help you. The next one is research focuses, trends, and major findings on project complexity. So you'll see that there's a couple on project complexity or complex projects. Evolutionary governance for mega event projects, using a social capital lens to identify the mechanisms of top management commitment, and finally, protecting American soldiers. So there's some good articles in there. I highly recommend that you go and read them. So now let's switch our focus a little bit from PMI to articles in the news. The first one I would like to talk about is APAC project portfolio management market worth $1,352.8 million US dollars by 2022, according to a new research report. So project portfolio management is actually skyrocketing, and companies are actually figuring this out. So this just talks about APAC. And one thing that I just wanted to say is that the global APAC PPM market, that's project portfolio management market size, is expected to grow from US dollars 586.9 million in 2017 to US dollars 1,352.8 by 2022. Can you imagine that? So project portfolio management software is going to grow exponentially because project portfolio management is actually growing exponentially. So let's go to another one. Here in the United States, Easterly, a company, has acquired government redevelopment project. So Easterly Government Properties has acquired the rights, and I'm reading this from the article, to the redevelopment of a 210,373 square foot industrial building in Tracy, California. This will be leased to FEMA, which is the Federal Emergency Management Agency. The property already exists, and is already under construction. It doesn't already exist, and is projected to open in the second half of 2018. So FEMA is saying that they need to develop and stage their infrastructure to go and meet the demands of disaster recovery. So this place will actually have refrigeration as well as just storage facilities. So let's go to Upland Software. Upland Software boosts project portfolio management visibility and control with next generation of its power steering PPM application. It is actually a cloud-based enterprise work management software, and it's announced power steering. This, in its opinion, I haven't looked at it, so I can't really tell you, it will be the industry-leading enterprise project portfolio management solution. Now, I wonder if Microsoft will deal with this, because Microsoft sees it as the industry-leading enterprise project portfolio management solution. And in my humble opinion, at this point, it is the best out there. But I'll be interested in looking at power steering to see what it has to do, where it has the greatest power to provide. The next one is project portfolio management and IT governance. So this is a discussion between David Horowitz, Vice President of Marketing, and Steve Romero, IT Governance Evangelist from CA's Clarity PPM Solution. So you can understand it has a little bit of a clarity perspective on it. But again, it's can project portfolio management help prevent IT failures? And some of the things that they talk about is they discuss project portfolio management and what it truly is. But some of the things that I found fascinating was that, what does IT governance actually mean? And The IT Governance Institute says that there's 5 principles. IT must be aligned with business, and many times IT is not aligned with business. IT must bring value to the business. Risk must be managed. And that's a hard part for many project managers because risk is not really tangible. Performance must be managed, and resources must be managed. These are all common foundations of project management. So Peter Well from MIT wrote a book on this subject, and he said, and some of the questions that he asks is, what decisions need to be made? That kind of goes back to being aligned with the business and bringing value to the business. Who's accountable for making those decisions? Is it IT, or is it higher? Is it the project portfolio sponsor and the governance council? Anyway, those things need to be asked. And finally, he says, how will those decisions be made? Is it a process? Is it one person? Is it somebody providing information to that person? So those are all good things that we need to do. So some of the questions that were asked during this was, what symptoms suggest a lack of IT governance? And we've seen a lot of it out there. And one thing that they say is taxation without representation. So in other words, you're taxed by the IT group, but you don't get any benefit, or you don't perceive any benefit out of it. What do you mean by IT value? So value must be, and I'm reading directly from the article, value must be defined in terms that make sense to a particular executive on the business side. So while I might, one executive might really value bandwidth, another executive might not. And in fact, bandwidth is kind of something that we just assume is there, especially in the United States and in Europe and most of APAC countries. However, there are countries that bandwidth is the number one thing. So you got to understand your audience. Why do so many IT projects fail? Well, I could go into this forever. Some of these are that there needs to be a more emphasis on human resource management, because that's what's lacking in many IT projects. And I would agree with that, but there's many other things too. So that's just a little bit on this project portfolio management and IT governance, which I found quite interesting. So let's go on and talk about take your project management skills to the next level. So what are some of the project management skills to the next level that you really should have? And this was done by Daily Beast Shop. And funny that this comes out because one of the first things they say, let's be real. Project managers are the glue that keeps everything together. So that really enticed me to read this article. But some of the things, and they also say that some PMs are superheroes in their organization. They say that project managers need to specialize in Agile. And yeah, yes, maybe no. Agile seems to be the fad going on right now. But they say they command higher salaries, and that probably is correct. You have to have supremely high product quality. Again, you need to put this with the scope. If you're asking for a Volkswagen, don't design a Cadillac. So you need to understand what your product quality is. Increase product control. They tout Scrum, but you can do product control in Waterfall. You can do it in anything. Reduce risks mean increased ROI. I can't emphasize that more. Yes, you've got to reduce your risks in order to increase your ROI. Not only do you need to reduce your risks, you need to increase your opportunities. Look for opportunities out on your project, and this can also increase your ROI. So these are things that they're touting in this article, and again, they're asking you to become Agile certified. So let's keep on that same idea. So 4 project management mistakes to avoid at all costs, and this was an Archinect news. So it's kind of got a little bit of an architecture background to it, but it can go for everybody. The first one is lack of communication. If you stay in your cubicle and don't communicate, or if you stay behind your laptop and don't get around or have face-to-face, even on remote, you need to do so. You can't work as an island. Using subpar project management software. I can't emphasize that more. It's not a silver bullet. However, you've got to use the right software, project management software. If not, you're going to be behind the times because you've got to integrate so many different things. If your company now uses spreadsheets, they're probably way behind. So any software would be better. So, but don't do your projects by just an Excel spreadsheet unless it's a very small project of 1 or 2 weeks or even a month. But I highly recommend you get some type of project management software. Not benchmarking or measuring financials. I can't emphasize how many times I've gone to a project and it hasn't been benchmarked. They're not measuring against anything. They're not measuring against what they suggested that they were going to have to do. So you've got to baseline it. That's what you use in MS Project. You baseline the project so you know where you are at any one time. Manage scope creep. I can't emphasize that more. You've got to manage your scope creep. And there's many, many more, but these are the 4 that they touted on this one. And again, this was in Architect News. Next article, how the digital workplace is changing project management and execution. I can't say enough about that. Companies are leveraging technology in very many ways. And if we as project managers don't use that, then we're missing the boat. We have got to make sure that digital platforms are enabling collaboration, communication, document management, scheduling, resource and talent management, troubleshooting, training, and everything else in project management. This, if it's on the cloud, if it's there for everybody to look at, it reduces the lag time between communications. So if you have a weekly project status meeting, can you imagine if you had it on Friday, now the weekends happen, and it's already next Wednesday, and people are thinking, well, what's going on with the schedule? Why isn't it? If it's up on the cloud, everybody can look at it. I can't emphasize that enough. And that's also for your team members. That is also for your members in the executive branch. Have your project, program, or portfolio out there so everybody can look at it. Okay, Gateway. Gateway Corporation talks with private investors about financing and project management. So what's the Gateway Development Corporation? This has to do with Amtrak. Amtrak is developing a gateway tunnel project up in the Northeast Corridor. This will be an excellent next step in technology for Amtrak. And what they're looking to is doing a private-public cooperation so that the project management and financing is done on both sides. Now, some people will say, oh, those always fail. Well, they don't. They do very well if they're done well. They're no different than any other project, but you have to have the right processes. You have to have the right people in place to make it an excellent success. The same thing is true with public or private financing, one or the other. You have failures, you have catastrophic failures on both sides, and you have extreme successes on both sides. So let's not say that public-private ventures are doomed for failure, because they're not. It depends on the people on there. So I look forward to see what happens, because I use that Northeast Corridor quite a bit, and it needs an overhaul. Okay, next, how to assess and manage risk in a project. The one thing that they emphasize in this article, and this article was published by Management Today, and it's a very short article, is a risk register. How many of you do risk? You do a risk register once and then you put away and you never look at it. You have got to keep this as a living document. And again, I suggest putting it up in the cloud so everybody can look at it and they can give you an idea of what's going on. So there's a new management software out. It's called Flow, the new project management app calming the storms of modern digital workplace. And I found this very interesting because they worked with the top 100 companies, and some of those companies were Starbucks, Apple, let's see if I can find, Apple, Slack, TED, and Starbucks were some of the top ones that they used. And it's interesting because they came up with a little chart that kind of talks about complex figures and how project managers sometimes look at it. So they first have ambiguity. Then you have the kickoff. Then you have ambiguity. Then you have indecision. Then you have feature creep. Then you have pointing of fingers. Then you have throwing of grenades. Then you have fighting fires, review meetings, totally new direction, actual work, prayer, launch. And how many of this to you sound familiar? It does to me. I've been on projects like this. Well, they say they have a way of making it much easier. That Flow is a world-class design team, has worked with companies, and as I said, that make it easy and simple to view. And in fact, they talked to some CEOs and some executives in companies that it was produced and used in, and they said they found it very easy to communicate with executives and also with the team. So I look forward to looking at Flow and understand if this app is truly as versatile as they say it is. Stay tuned and I'll give you an update on it. Okay, so Upland software demonstrates leadership in project and portfolio management and knowledge management for healthcare IT at HIMSS. HIMSS is the Healthcare Information and Management Systems Society, and it's for healthcare, as it says. It's done yearly, and it's sort of like the PMI global conference, but at the healthcare. I've been to a couple of HIMSS, and they are excellent. So Upland is actually the Eclipse project. Upland is the owner of the Eclipse project and portfolio solution. And now Eclipse is actually a healthcare product, and it's used in a lot of nurses' stations to monitor how patients are doing. So I was very interested to see that they're now in the project and portfolio management solution space. I will have to go look at it and see how well it does in this area because, as I said, they are more in the healthcare management side of place. But it does make sense because healthcare, when you look at it, even at the patient level, is project management. So you have to be able, I hate to say that a patient is project management, but think about it. A patient that presents themselves has a beginning and an end, and you have to do different things to get them to where they need to be. So I'm not surprised at all that Eclipse has gone into PPM software as well. So stay tuned on that. So the next one is called Ramboli, is to scale project portfolio management reporting with Insight. So it is to implement Insight PBF, they call it planning, budgeting, and forecasting solution in a bid to cost effectively scale and automate pre and post contract multi-project reporting and forecasting. So are you getting the trend here? There's all these companies that saying that they do project portfolio management. Do you think that this is growing in the area? I absolutely do think it is. So stay tuned because I really want to look at different project portfolio management software and see and kind of give my 2 cents on them. So remember, let's go into different things in the world of project management right now, different events. So remember that the American Management Association, which is www.amanet.org, has daily webcasts. You can use this for PDUs if you are certified in the project management area. Projectmanagement.com also has webinars, and but not as often as AMA, and they also have webcasts. Remember, there are blogs as well if you are interested in what's going on in the area of project management. The PMI Expo, or XPO, which is an online event, is on March 22nd. Seminars Worlds happens at least monthly. The next one is in Atlanta from March 12th to the 15th, so that's next week. If you haven't signed up already, you're probably a little late. Seattle has one coming in April from 9 to 12. Minneapolis is 23 to 26 April, and Dallas is 7 to 10 May. The EMEA Congress in Berlin, Germany happens from 7 to 9 May. If you're in the Europe area, I would highly recommend that you go there. The PMI Global Conference happens in October from 6 to 8 October in Los Angeles. So I want to call you to subscribe to www.pmcurrent.com, and subscribe to my YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter feeds to stay current in what's going on in project portfolio and program management. Remember, if you don't agree with me, I'd like to hear from you. If I'm not covering the items that you'd like to hear me cover because I'm not in tune to those, please let me know. I'd like to know about those so I can get them on. If you are a project manager or a program manager and a portfolio manager on anything that I've discussed about, or if you know how to use some of these tools, I'd really like to hear you comment on it. Contact me on wanda@pmpowered.com so that we can discuss, and I can have you on a podcast. Finally, remember to watch every Monday for a new podcast, and I'll see you next Monday.